minute or so. So once again, very nice to have everyone on the call today. I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or beginning to be in the evening. My name is Tyler Price. I'm a sales manager here at DWS, supporting both our end customers and partners alike. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about, whether end customers, systems integrators, and managed service providers have it right when it comes to testing, because overall, testing is a subject for us all when we're running enterprise applications, whether you're running them as an end customer or you're supporting your existing customers with their enterprise applications, and Edwards to be specific. But yeah, we're going to talk about the power of automated testing and how it can potentially make a difference for your organization. So jumping into this, just to share a little bit about myself, as I mentioned, and it's always lovely speaking to a big picture of your face right in front of you. But again, I'm a sales manager here on the team at DWS. I'm responsible for supporting both our end customers, those running JD Edwards or Oracle Cloud applications, as well as our partners supporting their customer base. For me, I've had about 8 years in the enterprise software world, starting with Oracle, where I've spent the first few years of my career, and then working at a couple of other technology companies. 6 years I've been working with and around Oracle Enterprise apps and projects. I'm residing in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, so on the East Coast in the United States. And I also shared my email address below, just if anybody wants to take note and wants to reach out for any reason. So just looking at what we're looking to accomplish for today, I'm going to share a little bit about who we are, what we do, and our perspective at DWS and our parent company, Logigear. From there, we'll take a look at what the functional testing opportunity is. Again, from the perspective of the user, the end customer, as well as the partners and organizations responsible for supporting them. Why it's important and beneficial to automate your testing for JD Edwards Enterprise One. Looking at the value of having a strong automated testing strategy. And then we're going to spend some time looking at our scripting and automated testing tool, Dimension Swift Test. And then from there, we'll talk a little bit about, what our partnership looks like and what that could potentially mean and, for your organization. And then at the end, we'll leave some time for Q&A as well. So just a little bit about DWS. DWS was founded in 1998. So we're actually coming up on our 25 years this year, which is quite exciting for our whole team at DWS. For the vast majority of those years, we've been an Oracle Gold partner. And what we do is we really specialize, in the beginning, we've specialized in development and technical service for JD Edwards Enterprise One. And we also offer a suite of products, geared towards JD Edwards Enterprise One, as well as Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. So at DWS, we have we're very focused on the Oracle community and really a long experience and definitely again that focused perspective on that community. For customers, we have customers all across the world, all across the globe, and we're also staffed in over 10 countries. So we're we're a small team, but we like to think that we punch above our weight a bit. Where we certainly have a global perspective when it comes to customers as well as the folks on the DWS team. Our parent company, Logigear, which I'll go into a little bit more detail here in a second, but they're a bit new. We were acquired by Logigear in January this year, and they also offer really specialization in development and testing services and products, and they work a much wider, broader range than Oracle. They can develop and test basically anything. Just a little bit about them. So again, they do provide software testing technologies and expertise, along with the development services that enable customers to accelerate business growth while having the confidence in the software that they're delivering. Whether it's enterprise applications, software development, test automation, our expertise truly sets us apart. So for any folks on the call today or listening in that might feel that they need additional support in those areas, we can certainly help in that way. So, getting started here, when we think about the functional testing opportunity for folks leveraging JD Edwards Enterprise One, we're having conversations, daily, weekly, monthly with folks that are working towards figuring out that problem. And what we hear, and this, anecdotally, what we hear during conversations is anywhere from 25 to 65% of the total time and effort attributable to a packaged software implementation, upgrade, or change event is spent on testing. So, anytime you're running a project, again, whether it's an implementation, upgrade, or change event, a huge portion of that is attributed to testing, as it should be. There can't be any mistakes, once you go live with any of these, as you're running, a truly important and required tool to your business, like JD Edwards or your ERP system. So to that point, we think about the time attributed to those projects. We also think about the price. So one report and survey that we pay attention to, annually is the Capgemini World Quality Report. You'll hear me reference this a couple of times during the presentation, but last year's over a third, close to 35%, said that their overall, I apologize, the respondents to the survey mentioned that a third of their IT budget was actually allocated to testing and QA. So not only are folks spending, a huge portion of their time to testing, they're also allocating a significant portion of their budget. So we're in the business of reducing these, finding the time to reduce the time, effort, and cost of these projects that require testing. So, we talked about, when would a JD, an Enterprise One customer test? And ultimately, anytime there is a business process change, enhancement, any changes to your system, that is going to require testing to ensure nothing has broke and that the system is working as intended. So even if that's a business acquisition, tool upgrade, which we talk to folks all the time, trying to stay, code current and taking advantage of their tools, testing coincides with that. It's right next to it along the way. So you can't get the value of your tools ultimately if they're not working as you expect them to and as they're designed to. So that's really where our focus is making sure when you do test, you're doing it as effectively as you can, and you're making it as easy on your team as possible. When we think about, why one would automate testing for JD Enterprise One, it really comes down to challenges that we hear during every conversation. So, as we mentioned before, every change event project requires testing. So, why would one want to automate that or improve? Because testing is truly a difficult job. It's not easy. Oftentimes, I would say, unless you're using a tool that allows your team to get the most out of their skills, oftentimes testing is going to require specialist resources, and as we all know, it's going to be time consuming. Much of it's going to be repetitive and mundane. It does slow adoption for your end users, and overall, it's very expensive. Again, another world quality report, a little statistic that I thought was surprising and interesting was this past year, only 45% of the organizations polled actually believe that they had the right testing strategy, process, or methodology in place. So I think this does speak to the wider issue where few would argue the importance of testing, but many would have different views on the right approach. And luckily for us, we have a number of customers that have been able to turn the problem into a real positive, and they're seeing very strong returns by putting a strong process and methodology in place, leveraging automation. So, again, going back to the conversations that we have frequently, it's what are these common bottlenecks that most of these organizations are dealing with? Well, the first is really knowing and understanding what to test in your environment from that change. It's planning and managing your tests, which, if you're not leveraging the right tools, can often take a considerable amount of time and effort. It's creating and editing those scripts as you need to. Then again, it's if you're relying on your specialist resources within the organizations to help you with these projects and help you with these testing exercises, it's availability. We only have so many engineers and programmers that we can rely on with these projects. So if we're reliant on them, availability becomes a huge concern, and oftentimes can get in the way of a project. And then it's the handover from the project team to the users, documentation effort, which if anybody has spent time testing, oftentimes they'll point to that as the least enjoyable part of the project. I'm not saying that any of them are enjoyable, but people have a special dissatisfaction with having to document afterwards. And then it's the time and effort to test and retest throughout the project. So these are all very common. I think if any folks have taken part in these testing exercises, these are all pretty straightforward and probably would be top of mind. So looking at what the value of an automated testing strategy, what does that really mean? It really, ultimately what we're trying to do is create a repeatable, risk adverse, and easy process. So when we say repeatable, it's introducing a consistent, reliable test methodology while improving the quality and the accuracy of testing. When we talk about reducing the risk in automation, it also, as difficult as the job is, if you're doing it manually, you leave it open to manual error, and oftentimes those can really set back a project. And then lastly, it's easing the burden. Again, testing is not a fun job, and it can often be very monotonous and boring. So what we're trying to do is reduce the amount of testing required and making that even much easier on the team that you have internally running and testing during these projects. What does it capture? So, automation captures the landscape of your software in your instance. So, it catalogs of scripts and queues that reflect the way that the software has been implemented and used. It allows you to stage and consume data, and it's reusable, and as that evolves. Again, saving a lot of time and effort as you were running, more and more projects that require testing, which is very important for organizations. So it really shows you where each project is as a picture in time. So again, just there's many benefits to leveraging automation throughout your projects, but these are a few pieces that can really move the needle. And what does it deliver, to the business? By automating and reducing the pain of this part of the project, you can be seen as improving and modernizing. And again, anytime that you're adding to your system, or you're taking advantage of the upgrades or the new tools, that's also you're getting the most from the software, and you're able to and within that, by leveraging the tool to support your testing, what you find is you'll be able to run smaller, faster, and smarter projects. And again, to my point before, you're delivering that innovation to your business. You're always looking to improve and modernize your systems to get the most out of them, and the team using them. To the project manager, it's less time, less effort, less hassle, and ultimately less cost to your business. And then when you have a strong tool methodology in place, you find yourself being more thorough and more accurate. And for the tester, we talk about it. We talk about it all the time. It's really easing the pain. It's a difficult job, and the idea is to make it as simple and easy as possible, while doing it most effectively. And that's the biggest piece: doing it most effectively, but making it as easy as on your team as possible to complete. So, when we think about these benefits, and I always think it's good to not necessarily, looking at third-party research basically to help paint the picture of what others think of the value. And again, I'm pointing towards the Capgemini report from this last year, where they asked, thousands of IT leaders what benefits they are getting from test automation. And the benefits to the right were better control and transparency of testing activities. That was the most significant. Reducing the test cycle time, which again, if you're going to be able to automate that is one area that you should be expecting a strong return, is that reduction of the test cycle time. And it's also reducing the overall security risk and security related issues, which again, we're living in a world where security is absolutely critical, and atop our list of really most important items to pay attention to. It's a better detection of the defects, overall better test coverage, and again, you're reducing your total cost. So all of those pieces, I'm sure for the folks on the call, if you were promised this with the tool to support your testing, I'm sure you'd be quite happy with it. So when we think about DWS's scripting and automated testing solution, we're talking about Dimension Swift Test. So just to give you a sense of what the tool is and how it's really what the goal of it is all of those positives and all of those improvements that you saw from that last Capgemini report, those are all items that you'd be able to see a difference by using Swift Test. So whether you're planning, building, executing, or documenting your tests, or your scripts or your tests, you're able to do that within Dimension Swift Test. So planning, you're able to, throughout the time of leveraging Swift Test, you're able to understand the scope and impact of any project. Easily being able to create and build your application aware test scripts, and then actually running those test scripts, and then other features that we have. Swift Test is self-documenting. So basically, any project you're going to end up trying to plan and understand what the changes are. From there, you're going to build and modify any test scripts that would be a part of that project, and then you're going to continuously run and modify, run those tests and modify those scripts as you need to until you're absolutely satisfied with what's working, in your environment. So again, everything that you need to do from that standpoint, you're able to do within Dimension Swift Test. And then I talked about the self-documentation. It's very high-end documentation where you can if you're dealing with auditors, it's really supports you with that, and you're able to catalog and then ultimately reference those tests, those scripts, and those projects as you continue. So it's being able to use and reuse those test scripts. So when we think about some of the differentiators of Dimension Swift Test is compared to some of our competitors in the market, it really Swift Test is application aware, meaning it's going to be able to read your environment. However you've set your environment up in Enterprise One, it's going to be able to read that and test against it. The tool has been created and really built for the business analyst and the super user. So it does not require, we talk about specialist resources, it does not require an engineer. It doesn't require a developer. If you're able to work within the tool itself, if you're comfortable with Enterprise One, then you'd be able to learn how to use Dimension Swift Test quite easily and quite quickly. Within the tool, you're able to replicate your end-to-end business processes, which is critical to organizations that are running these projects. And then I always talk about the gold standard documentation. So Swift Test is self-documenting, and can produce a PDF, a Word doc, and even Excel file on every test step on every project. So you're able to get really strong documentation. No developer studio required. You have a dynamic data store, which is one of the areas that we're able to really scale and reduce the time that it takes to modify your test scripts and modify any projects. And then from a security perspective, DWS is ISO 27001 accredited. So again, when we talk about security, that is certainly something that's top of mind for us, from the CEO down as an organization at DWS. A few, just the general benefits that you would expect to see by leveraging a tool like Swift-Test. So what we're able to, and honestly, this could be a bit on the low end for some of the customers that we have using the tool, but folks, just from the time it takes for their test executions, they're reducing it by about 60%. So pretty dramatic savings on just the time that it takes to run your test. And then even more dramatically, the time that it would take to create or modify a test script. People are saving about 70%, reducing that time by about 70%. So some very strong returns for our users leveraging Swift-Test to support their projects. So I wanted to give you, we're not doing a demonstration today, but I do have a few items that I wanted to speak through inside the tool that gives you a look at what it is and the feel of it. So ultimately, Swift-Test is broken into our Dimension Hub, which what you're seeing on this slide, as well as our client. So the Dimension Hub is really consistent, familiar, and easy to use. You can see the graph up shows what testing has been done by all of your users on all of your projects. You can choose the dates that you would like to see, but it's again, you're able to see what projects have been successful, what projects have not been successful, but it really gives you a good idea of what's been happening within your environment. And the chart below actually shows the projects, scenarios, and tests. So, again, this will reflect all of the work by all of the users that you have in Swift-Test. So again, a very straightforward, simple view of what has been going on in your environment. And ultimately, this is the framework that's going to help you, organize, manage, and execute your testing as you guys run your projects. So what we're looking at now is the Swift-Test client, and this is, I think this is a really a good look at it, because what you're seeing is this is a Windows desktop application, so it's really lightweight. The client is. It's only about 20 megabytes in total. It doesn't need to be run on a developer machine, just needs to be on a Windows machine that has access to your E1 instance. But what you're seeing is, Swift-Test is running here on the right side, and you can see that these are all the different test steps, and all of the actions in this test. And what it's doing is it's controlling your E1 instance on the left-hand side. So every time, this action pops up, you're going to see it happen on the left side of your screen. So again, for those that are familiar and capable of using your Enterprise One application, they would have no problem learning and taking advantage of the software here on the right. So I thought that painted a pretty good picture of that. And then we also offer action-based test scripting. So if you're familiar with the application, again, you're going to be able to build these tests. Everything that you see in the application is going to be available here in the client. And Swift-Test users are able to select the actions that reflect what makes the most sense on the right-hand side, and which is ultimately going to drive what is happening in the left-hand side. And you can see this box basically They're entering a value here on the right side, and it's highlighting that in the Enterprise One application. So again, if anybody is interested in a demo, not only can we provide that as a team, but we also have an excellent recorded demonstration on YouTube. If you look up Dimension Swift Test for JD Edwards Enterprise One, that will lead you to it. Or feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to either guide you to that or set up an individual demo for you and your team. So, it's always good just to look back and, some of the names that are actually leveraging Swift Test to run their projects that require testing. So a number of names on here. If anybody was at Oracle's conference last week, Heathrow Airport got a lot of attention. But we have a number of customers taking advantage and really seeing tremendous results from Swift Test, the tool, and we're always proud to be working with them as well. So looking at what partnering with DWS looks like and where that could potentially add value to your organization. We're always looking, when we think about partnering, it really falls into a few different buckets, but the goal is to either improve your internal processes, how you're supporting your customers, and the way you're doing it, or if you're not, if you're not providing testing, it is a potential way to add a revenue stream and, ultimately increase the revenue for your organization. So when we think about what the opportunity is, Swift Test is really focused on, your projects. If you're looking to automate your processes, or if you have managed services. So whether it's functional testing, regression testing, Swift Test is very effective at supporting folks that are looking to do that for JD Enterprise One or Oracle Cloud applications. I'll talk about it here in a second, but we hear folks, whether it's managed service providers or system integrators, again, testing is becoming much more relevant than it ever has before. Whether folks are trying to stay code current or again, take advantage of those tools releases, people are testing much more frequently. It's not the every 1, 2, or 5 years. When we speak with JD Edwards folks, it's typically twice a year, and sometimes people are even doing it monthly. So testing is certainly a subject that is talked about more than it has in the past. So what does it mean to partner with DWS? It falls into 3 different buckets. When we think about our partners, many of them are relying on Swift Test, and that's what I mean when I meant improving their processes to support their customers. So they're using Swift Test to support a customer's testing or project with testing. So their team would be taking advantage of all of the efficiencies one would get by using the tool. There's also a refer model where if you have an existing customer that is interested in testing, you can always refer them to us and you'd be able to collect a referral fee for that. And it's also reselling. So we have a number of our partners actually resell the software as well. I would say the folks that are seeing the strongest return on it are the ones that are not only relying on it to use as their team to support their customers, but also reselling it to their end customers to, again, give them ownership of that process as well. It's empowering your customers to be a part of that. So the folks that are seeing the strongest margins, the strongest returns are the folks that are able to, companies that are able to rely and to resell the product. And, what is the sell proposition? It's projects. And when we think about Swift Test, the aim is to help. And again, this can go for an end customer or this can go for a partner. The aim is to make, to help you create these smaller, faster, and smarter projects. Ultimately, building a stronger and longer lasting partnership between, systems integrators and end customers. And it's adding value. It's becoming a trusted advisor. You're able to help educate them on ways to improve. You're putting a spotlight on testing and QA. And then, many would say, most importantly, you're increasing revenues for your organization. And I know, again, we're always trying to find ways to do that. So, just looking back at this again, collaborating with DWS, introduce, sell the need and value of testing smarter, integrate it with your value, integrate testing into your value propositions, invest, able to use the tool and use it for your team, and then include. It's the factor, the cost of testing solutions into your proposals moving forward. Again, just being at the conference last week, we speak with many systems integrators that say, hey, testing is the end customer's problem. We let them handle that. Ultimately, though, it's a tremendous opportunity to add value to your customer, support them, and then increase deal sizes and revenue on for your company. So, a quick thank you before we get into Q&A. It looks like so I finished about 40 minutes, so we should have plenty of time for Q&A. Just want to say a quick thank you to the Quest organization and team for helping organize this. It was really just tremendous support from their whole team. And then again, I'm just going to leave this up with my information if anybody has any questions. But with that, and I know Pat is on with me, we can probably jump to the Q&A if anybody has questions.
Yeah, hi Tyler. This is can you hear me?
I can. Yep.
Yeah, I've been listening in. Thanks very much for that. Hopefully the the audience has enjoyed the materials you presented and talked through. I do have access to, I'm just trying to get to the right place here. I do have access to the questions that are being posted on the internet. There's one that's come through. Yeah, there's one that's come through a Zoom chat sort of thing that everybody doesn't have access to, but it concerns sort of the commercial model, Tyler, for the end customer. How is the software made available?
Yeah, so thanks, Pat. So we offer, in terms of the end customer, we sell this by users by year. So it's a software as a service. You would, depending on the number of users that you would need, you would purchase the users and they would have access to Swift Test for the year. And then any IP, any scripts and anything that they build within the tool would also, that would be theirs as well. So yep, software as a service model, by user, by year. Okay.
Another one that I'm not sure it's generally available is, can you try the software?
You can, yes. So we do offer a 30-day trial of Swift Test that we actually, we're quite proud of it because folks get a lot of value just from using it. You'll get access to the tool for 30 days. And we'll also provide some support sessions with a specialist to make sure that, your team, any team that's interested in checking it out, they're getting the most out of it, in the time that they have. Okay. Good question.
Yeah, and the last one concerns, it's a partner question, Tyler, and and it concerns their use of the software. Obviously, if a partner is working with a number of different customers, do they have to buy the software for every single customer that they're supporting?
So you would purchase the software. You would purchase an instance of the software for each customer, but and Pat, correct me if I'm not saying this clearly.
Right. That is right. Yeah. And we make it really attractive. Commercially, it's very, very attractive.
Yeah. Commercially, it's very attractive. So basically, each customer that you have as a partner, you would get an individual instance of Swift test that you would be able to, use just for them. You would be able to keep everything separate for that specific customer. And then, but you would also get access, your whole team, anybody that you would need to be able to, test, modify, or do anything, you would have enterprise access to that. So, from a pricing standpoint, it's very, very, very strong. And any, if they do have questions on that, I'd be happy to go into a bit more detail of just what that looks like.
Yeah, we're here for anybody who wants to talk further about what we're doing. I mean, obviously in the JD Edwards space, when we talk about testing, we tend to talk about Swift test, but we also have a dimension load test product for stress volume type testing, and a product to help you understand the business impact of change that's coming into your, that you're proposing to implement with a product called INFOCUS. But that's it, Tyler. Those are the questions. I know you mentioned during your presentation the recorded demo, an introductory demo. I actually added that link to the chat box on the INFOCUS Pathable sort of session box, so people don't need to bounce around and try and look for that. But do visit the DWS-global.com website and the library.
Pat, I just noticed another question pop up.
Okay.
So for a partner, once a test is developed, can it be shared with other instances? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. You'd be able to, if you would like to, reuse a test for another one of your customers, you would be able to do that within the tool. And again, if any deeper questions, anything that you need some additional information on, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or even Pat, and we can certainly have one-off conversation. So sorry, Pat, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's good, Tyler. I think we're well within the time. Covered the materials and the learning objectives. You sort of ticked all of those things off. So I think job done. And again, thank you for those of you that have joined us live. Really appreciate it. I see a mix of partners and customers and prospects. So that's absolutely brilliant. And of course, this stuff's on demand. So if you've got colleagues you think they should be looking at this, don't hesitate to point them at this session. Or if you want to have us do something live and in person with you, don't hesitate. Be really, really good. One thing that does come up often, when we talked about the trial and we talked about using the software is really easy to use, and it's designed to be very accessible, to project team members, super users, business analysts, subject matter experts, and those sorts of things. And in support of, those kind of people using the software, they're not going to use the software all day, every day. We invested and worked with iLearn ERP to create an online learning environment. So it's called the DWS Academy. And every user of a software gets access to Learning Academy materials, and can use those to get up the learning curve and then for reference, and future going on. So we're really really pleased to have that available and make that available to each and every one of our customers. And during a trial, the people trialing the software get access to a cut down version of the materials that are available, and you can kind of see what those look like and feel like. So that's a good thing as well. But that's it. I think we should probably wrap it up, Tyler.
Yeah, no, just to echo Pat's thoughts. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. And I think we can give everybody about 10 minutes back in their day. So thank you.